program have any support from the government? Let's say, because if there are poor people who wants to be rehabilitated, they go to your center? I mean, they are financially constrained, so is it okay?
In there we have a scaling, you know, parang capacity to pay. If the person can afford this much, okay lang. That's why we are a foundation. But you know, in my experience, I used to work in government. When it is free, it's not valued very much. You know, it's so hard to make the parents, you know, value also the intervention given by the government. I was a center director of the Payatas Rehab in Quezon City, Office of the Vice Mayor. There should be some kind of sponsorship. But when it's free, parang they just go back anyway. They can go back naman. Parang they don't value it. That's my experience. And if we want to have a support from government, no, we don't have any support from government. I wish DOH would and the DDB.
Although we are accredited by the Philippine Council for NGO certification,
yes.
We are a donor institution, but then, we don't get any support from the government.
But that is interesting. You're saying that it takes a lot of commitment on the part of the parents also to continue the treatment. And also that it's almost like if you give it away completely as a free charitable thing, then they somehow don't want to bring their child back?
No, what I mean is, yeah, some of them are because because of the codependency there.
Mm-hmm.
When they see that this person is improving a little, he's okay, you know. But there has to be some kind of maintenance of sobriety. Parang helping him also because when you're back in the street, you have new stresses in life. You have to deal with life outside every day. And sometimes the parents are the last to know their own problems. You need a peer group, a support group. That's why we ask them to go back to the center on weekends to have some kind of, reporting to their peers. Hey, I was okay outside, and I had this problem. So now the peer group, which we hope is giving positive influence on him, it helps a lot.
Lito, there's a very good question here, if you don't mind. It comes from Edna through text.
Somewhat pointed question.
Yeah, does DARE detain people against their will? Now, earlier you were saying it's very important for people to understand the legal framework for this thing, so I think by explaining that answers this question.
Yeah.
Does DARE detain people against their will?
We don't. In our law, in Section 54, the parents are given that option. If the drug addict does not want to be helped, it's the parent who acts. They go to the Dangerous Drugs Board and ask for a court order for temporary confinement, after which a DDB accredited or DOH accredited doctor will evaluate this person. Actually, 2 doctors are required. And then they file the court order to the RTC. And they are called to a hearing. The judge will have to intervene. Otherwise, there will be what we call involuntary confinement. That's sort of having, illegal detention.
So these are the circumstances under which a person can be involuntarily confined.
Yes.
The family, exercising its authority, goes to the court
Yes.
and says, look, we want this person committed.
Yes.
And then the court will lay down the conditions
Yes.
Yes.
for the treatment. Now,
There has to be
this
also
is done in
accreditation,
partnership
yes.
with the facility of choice, whether it's DARE or any other
Yes.
facility, because they have the doctors and the staff and that sort of thing.
Yes.
So that's how it works.
Yes.
To protect the patient from the drug dependent from being also a victim of, let's say, hidden agenda from the family. That's why they could just put in a family member and say, hey, he's an addict and all that, but they just want to get rid of him for some
Yeah.
reason. The court requires that he be certified by 2 DOH accredited psychiatrists or physicians that will certify that he is
That there is a
certified
problem.
drug dependent, to protect us
His rights.
also from. That's why with the Section 54, because if you ask me, I'd say 99% of the drug dependents would say, hey, I don't need help. Just like how I was before. I said I didn't need help. I didn't need any rehabilitation to
But you always
my
have
life.
to protect for the 1% chance that it's someone who's just
Yes, yes,
getting
correct.
crap from
See,
their
so-
family.
So
Okay.
what's going to happen if everybody's just going to say, hey, you don't want to be helped? Fine, go ahead. So it means to say nobody's going to go inside rehabs.
Okay, now what are the statistics on people actually cleaning up and staying clean?
Well, I can only speak for our center. We have 70% success as of now, and we are. I think we are succeeding because our support group is very strong.
Okay, because
We
I
have
think
a-
there's a question that's connected to this.
Yes, we have a somewhat personal but rather relevant question from Mitch through text. How many times did Lito Gruet relapse, and do you consider yourself recovered?
Okay, so I of course have to answer that, right? I did relapse once right after the program, but then I was able to recover right away because of the program. And that's why I believe in the program so much. That's why I decided to continue staying, and I applied as a staff, because I do believe that if the program is able to help me, then I in turn can help others as well. So I guess it's been quite a while. I was a shabu addict for about 16 years, and I've been clean for about 7 years now. So I guess I'm very well on my way back into recovery. I'm still a recovering drug dependent. You can consider me that, even if I am the center director. But that is why it is very important that the recovering drug dependence, since it is considered a lifetime process, a lifetime struggle, to continue to initiate and voluntarily seek going back to the program by joining support groups. And we
Okay,
have
now
already
this
a
brings
built-in
up the
support
interesting
group.
point of aftercare. That
Yes.
let's say you go through the process where slowly, I mean, the process to cut it short is basically little by little.
Take it a day at a
First of
time.
all, you're
Day
allowed
at
to
a
see
time.
your family once a month, then once a week, and then you can spend 1 day a month, and then 1 weekend a month, and
Yes.
so on, little by little. But there comes a point where ideally you're supposed to go home,
Yes.
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 But you don't just like throw away the key and
Yes, correct.
and
Yes,
people who undergo, for example, for drinking,
Yes.
They have AA.
when they go to Alcoholics Anonymous, you're there for life. You go to your meeting
Yeah.
every week.
Support group will
You
and
strengthen
should be
yourself.
whenever.
You remind yourself once again that, hey, I have this group of people who are like me and are being successful in the recovery. And, it reminds the person once again. Because the moment you cut yourself from the program and you encounter stresses and problems once again, who do you turn to? When you say, I'm going back to my support group anymore, I don't need the support group, and there are problems that would come, chances are it would depend on the problem. I would go back to my old friends.
And we were also talking a while ago about the myriad advantages that you have given your own personal experience and then being the authority figure in that center as well.
Yes, that's correct. We are the original Big Brother, Pinoy Big Brother.
Big.
I act as the big brother there and actually the father of the community.
In addition, in the therapeutic community, the therapist is the community. These are a group of drug dependents wanting to change and straighten out their lives. But in that community, Lito is the head. And my role is to monitor who is, crossing the line. Because there are some drugs that can induce psychosis or depression. And these are co-occurring with addiction. Sometimes when they're in the treatment process, these things surface. So, surface yan. And you have to detect this so that we can intervene. Medications can be given. Because this will also pose a big risk when they go out. Because, for example, even when you go out, you experience, I can't sleep.
So this is the problem that you were explaining to me a while ago. The term is comorbidity.
Yes, correct. Or co-occurring problems in addiction.
I mean, this is pretty harsh stuff that's going into you, so it's going to have some sort of long-lasting effect either on your actual physical condition or your psychological or even spiritual condition. And therefore, precisely why you're put in a controlled environment or one that's controlled. I mean, Stephen King, for example, was giving one very clear example of how if you don't know what to look